Today, our discussion takes a bit of a twist because of this new movie called Kraven. Of course, this is a Marvel character, and it just seems like a lot of people didn't know much about him. So here goes. This is not necessarily about the movie. This is about the actual superhero character. We will speak about the movie itself in the next video. He's got this really rich backstory that goes way beyond just like the surface level. Yeah, I've always thought his real name was so interesting. Sergei Nikolaevich Kravenov. I mean, it hints at a life so different from like that savage hunter we all know. Absolutely. I mean, think about it. He was a Russian aristocrat who fled to the US after the 1917 revolution. Imagine that upheaval, the loss, the sense of displacement, like those experiences, they must have just totally like shaped how he saw the world. That makes me wonder, could this obsession with proving himself as the world's greatest hunter be like his way of reclaiming the power and status he lost? It's a really compelling theory. I mean, his aristocratic background probably instilled in him like a sense of pride, a need for control, and a belief that he is superior to others, And hunting, especially in such a primal, hands-on way, it could be like his way of asserting that dominance in a world where he just feels completely out of place. And choosing to take down large animals with his bare hands. I mean, that's got to be about more than sport, right? Like it seems more about proving something. Oh, for sure. It's not enough for him to simply win. He needs to do it on his terms, showcasing his raw strength and skill. It's almost like this ritual, like he's proving his worthiness through these big displays of power. But brute strength alone wouldn't be enough to take on Spider-Man. So where do those superhuman abilities come in? That's where things get kind of mystical. So Kraven drinks this special potion, right? Made from super rare jungle herbs. And this potion gives him enhanced strength, speed, agility, even like heightened senses. He can see, hear, and smell things way beyond what humans can. It makes him like a real apex predator. Okay, so we have this exiled aristocrat who needs to prove himself, enhanced by some mysterious potion, taking on the role of this like big game hunter. That's definitely a recipe for a compelling villain. But what makes his rivalry with Spider-Man so unique? I think it all comes back to Kraven's need to just conquer the unconquerable. Spider-Man is like his ultimate prey, the one challenge he just can't seem to overcome. And yet he always like underestimates Spider-Man's resourcefulness and resilience. It's this weird paradox, the hunter blinded by his own pride and ambition. And this obsession leads him to the Sinister Six. It seems like teaming up isn't really his style, so what would make him join forces with a bunch of other villains? I think it shows how fixated he is on Spider-Man. It's not just about defeating him, it's about proving that he's better than everyone. So joining the Sinister Six was strategic. It was a way to stack the odds in his favor, even if it meant, compromising his solo hunting style. This all leads up to one of the most infamous Spider-Man stories, Kraven's Last Hunt. And this story gets pretty dark. It does. Kraven, now older and frustrated with his failures against Spider-Man, decides on this final desperate act. He drugs and buries Spider-Man alive, believing that he is actually dead. Then he puts on Spider-Man's suit and starts acting as this more brutal version of him. That's disturbing. He replaces Spider-Man. Why would he do that? It's a twisted attempt to show everyone he's better. That he can not only beat Spider-Man, but actually be a better Spider-Man. It's like a big psychological study of ego, obsession, and this deep desire for validation. But even in this moment of supposed triumph, Kraven chooses a really shocking end. He does. After proving his point, well, at least in his mind, Kraven commits suicide. It's a really tragic end for a character completely consumed by his own ambition and who can't deal with what he's done. You would think that would be the end of Kraven's story, but death in comics isn't usually the end, is it? No, it's not. And so in this very surprising turn of events, Kraven's family uses dark magic to bring him back from the dead. Bringing someone back from the dead using dark magic. Yeah, that sounds like it could have some unintended consequences. Yeah, you're telling me the ritual doesn't exactly go as planned. And when Kraven comes back, he's changed. Like, it's almost as if the magic made his instincts even stronger. Even more unhinged and unpredictable, So not only does he have to deal with his own twisted past, but now he's also got the after effects of dark magic. That's going to be tough. Yeah, and it's here that Kraven's story takes an even darker turn. His relationship with his family really starts to fall apart. He becomes even more obsessed with hunting, almost like he's feral. It's interesting how his family becomes such a big part of his story now. He had a lot of kids, right? Each with their own connection to his legacy. Exactly. So you've got Vladimir, his firstborn, who's always trying to live up to his dad's expectations, but can never quite get there. And then you have his death at the hands of his own father. And that's like this huge turning point. It really shows how destructive Kraven's obsession can be. Then there's Alyosha. He seems to have a more complicated relationship with his father, right? Yeah, Alyosha's really interesting. He's a mutant with this deep connection to animals. And while he admires his father's skills, he's also really struggling with all the brutality. He represents a bit of hope, like maybe Kraven's family can escape this cycle of violence. His daughter, Anna, seems like a totally different story. I feel like she embraces her father's legacy way more. Oh yeah, for sure. Anna is fierce, ambitious, and super skilled. She really wants to prove herself as the rightful heir to the Kraven name, and she can be just as ruthless and cunning as her father. What about the last son of Kraven? He always gave me the creeps. Oh yeah, he's a scary one. So the last son is actually a clone of Kraven created by the High Evolutionary. Just imagine all of Kraven's skills and instincts, but amplified. And without any of the experience or restraint, he's like a complete wild card, a force of nature you can't control. We talked about Kraven's last hunts, but there are other stories like the Gauntlet and Grim Hunt that explore his family even more and the consequences of bringing him back. What can you tell us about those? Well, they really show how Kraven's actions affect everyone around him, especially his kids. In the Gauntlet, Spider-Man gets caught in the middle of a big power struggle between Kraven's children. Each of them wants control and is trying to use the same forces that resurrected their father. Wow, so not only is Spider-Man dealing with a Kraven who's back from the dead, but now he has to deal with his whole family too, each with their own agenda. That's intense. Oh yeah. It is. And Spider-Man has to make some really tough choices. Like, how do you stop a villain who's already dead? And is he responsible for what their family does? And Grim Hunt takes things to a whole new level. Kraven's family goes on this ritualistic hunt, targeting Spider-Man and everyone close to him. Yeah, Grim Hunt is all about the dark side of Kraven's beliefs. His family tries to prove themselves by doing this ritual sacrifice. It makes you think about legacy, the pressure to live up to expectations, and how violence just keeps repeating itself. It seems like these stories really help us understand Kraven better, and the impact his choices have on everyone. It's more than just a hero versus villain story. It's about family, legacy, and trying to break free from destiny. Right, and that's what makes Kraven so interesting and complex. His story is like a warning about what happens when ambition goes too far and when you only care about winning. Okay, so we've talked about Kraven's origins, his powers, his relationship with Spider-Man, his death and resurrection, and his crazy family drama. Is there anything else about Kraven that we should talk about? Actually, yeah. There's one more thing about Kraven that we haven't really talked about yet. His code of honor. It might seem strange considering everything he's done, but Kraven does have a strong sense of what he thinks is fair. A code of honor? Really? Yeah. This is the same guy who drugs and buries Spider-Man alive, right? Yeah, that seems kind of contradictory. Well, yeah, it does, almost this. But Kraven has this very specific idea of what a fair chase is. He wants to beat his prey when they are at their strongest. Like, he wants to prove that he's better through a real challenge. So that means no tricks, no unfair advantages, and always giving his opponent a chance to fight back. Okay, so he has rules. Even if he is willing to do some pretty messed up stuff, he still has this, framework that he follows. That's really interesting. Yeah, and sometimes this code of honor actually makes him do some unexpected things. There are times when Kraven teams up with the good guys, even Spider-Man. Wait, hold on. Kraven the Hunter working with Spider-Man. I got to hear more about that. Okay, so there's this one story where Kraven teams up with Spider-Man and some Avengers who are stuck in the wrong time. They're all trying to find this stolen super soldier serum. It's that classic, the enemy of my enemy is my friend thing. It really shows you that Kraven's sense of right and wrong is complicated. It sounds like there's more to him than just good versus evil. He's got this code that sometimes makes him do heroic stuff, even if his methods are, not exactly by the book. Exactly. And that's what makes him such a fascinating character. He makes us question what we think about villains. He's not just some mindless bad guy. He's complex. He's got his own twisted sense of morality. I'm wondering, what's Kraven's legacy? Will he be remembered as this ruthless villain, or is there more to it? That's a really good question, and it's something that the comics still explore. His kids are all dealing with his legacy in different ways. Some of them follow in his footsteps, while others are trying to find a balance between his methods and some sense of justice. Even Spider-Man, his biggest enemy, sometimes respects Kraven's skills and determination. I think Kraven's story is so much bigger than just your typical superhero and villain fight. It's about all the complicated parts of being human. about trying to balance our dark side with our goals, and about the impact our choices have on the people around us. You're totally right. Kraven's story is a great example of how even those who do bad things can still be complicated and have some kind of honor. It makes us look past the surface and see that good and evil aren't always so clear. So even though Kraven is gone, he still has an impact on the Marvel Universe. Yeah, his story makes us think about legacy, what we expect from each other, and whether people can really change. Definitely. And that's probably the most interesting part of his story. It leaves us with more questions than answers, making us think about right and wrong and how our actions affect the world even after we're gone. I think we learned that he's way more complicated than he seems. He's driven by this unique code of honor, this crazy ambition, and the need to prove himself against the best. Yeah, and it's important to remember what Kraven's story teaches us about ourselves, about wanting to be recognized, about struggling with pride and obsession, and about the choices we make when we're facing huge challenges. We hope you learned something new about one of Spider-Man's most interesting enemies.
Punchlines and punches, hard hits, sharp wit, no holding back.